I didn't really want to do it. I'll do it anyways. Welcome to the superpilotish channel. My name's Graham Wilson, and today, in my nice safe basement, I'm going to be talking to you about what happens after an aircraft accident. And why didn't I want to talk about this? Like, who wants to talk about crashes and stuff? But the thing is about this YouTube thing, it just gets so many clicks, man. It's like it's just such a I guess it's a tempting thing to do, and I've been putting it off and putting it off, and I still don't want to talk about anything really nasty. And but people click on, what is it they always say in media? If it bleeds, it leads. If it burns, it earns. Well, I don't want to see any bleeding or burning around here on my show, but I will talk a little bit about something that maybe pilots would be interested in, and hopefully they never have to be involved with any of it. And even just like the general public, about accident investigation. It could be on airplanes, could be on ships, could be on trains, anything like that. And I was doing, as I normally do, my very little amount of research before my show, that it's pretty much standard in all of the ICAO countries, International Civil Aviation Organization. Basically, all the any it's basically anywhere except for North Korea, and so you can the process of doing that type of investigation. It's pretty much the same everywhere, and I'll let you know all about it. And one of the things that let's get my red one out here for safety. On the whiteboard, one of the things that people always, how can I put this here? I think I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, yeah. What people are wondering, what they want to do is right away. It's an instinctual thing that as soon as something weird happens, your brain wants to make sense of it. And so, like, okay, something bad happened. Plane skidded off the end of the runway and went into the weeds. Oh, the pilot was going too fast. The pilot came in too high. Oh, there was the mechanic didn't check the brakes properly. And everyone starts guessing. And what it is, it's like we're just trying to make sense of the situation. And the weird thing about, well, I guess I don't know if it's weird, but it's I guess a difficult thing for people to handle is that you want to get that information right away, but there's an investigation process that has to go on, and then usually, depending on your country, from what I did on my little bit of research, generally you're not going to find out for about a year, and probably a little bit longer if it's a little bit more major accident. So let's see. What is our investigation process? Let's do that. Investigation process. Got my whiteboard right here. Investigation process. Good old chicken scratch. Here we go. All right. Now we're going to switch over to the black marker. We'll see how that would go. I'm having fun with markers in my basement. Okay. So first thing that happens is we don't call them crashes. We don't call them accidents. It's an occurrence. Okay. In the military, it would be considered a mishap. But here we're going to call it an occurrence. What happens? Something occurred out of the ordinary. Occurrence. And it might be, and there's a difference between an accident or an incident, and there's is there a reportable accident? There's a reportable incident, and that's all kind of spelled out in each individual country's air law that they have. There's you got rules driving around in your car. You got rules flying around in the sky too, a whole bunch of them. And so what happens is we got an occurrence. What's happening next? Okay, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna notify. I got some notes over here that I'm cheating off. I've got my cheat sheet over here, and so just because there's an occurrence, it doesn't mean that it might not be too bad. Surprisingly, if say there's some guy and he has an engine failure and luckily he did what he was trained to do, and he flies down into a farmer's field. And he's just hanging out in the farmer's field, saying, "Oh, well, that was bad. I'm glad I just landed my plane in a field." And in that case, hey, there's no one injured. Plane's fine, or well, maybe the plane's not damaged. Maybe he just I don't know, ran out of gas. That happens a lot more than you think. And then, or just something weird, carburetor ice, he didn't get it in time. Well, the carburetor ice melts and then flies off again. That's what usually it used to happen back in World War One, when airplanes first came out. Actually, that airplanes would fly along, and the carburetor would start packing up with ice because of moisture in the air, and then the engine would quit. The pilot would get on the ground and then wait a bit, and then he can fire up the engine and take off again. So that's what, and then they figured out a way of putting engine heat into your carburetor so that ice doesn't build up. And yeah, so anyways, there's the occurrence. There might or might not be anything that has to happen. And but you're going to call up the, here in Canada, it's the Transportation Safety Board. In the United States, it's an NTSB, National Transport Safety Board. I looked in Australia, it's the Australian Transport Safety Board. And of course, the UK, they have to do everything different. I had to write it down. It's the AAIB, Air Accident Investigation Board. So there we go. And so you call them up, and they're like, yeah, you know what? I think we'd probably have to send out a team. So what you're going to do is you're going to go out to the field. Field, I guess assessment. We'll call it an assessment. Okay, there we go. So the NTSB or whoever, they said, okay, yeah, that's worth checking out. So then you go and you do your field assessment. And so you're out there and you're checking things out. And okay, you want to make sure that now it's kind of weird there because ideally you don't want to move around anything in a site where there's been an accident. And anybody in the chat here today? I don't know. It's pretty quiet. Did I do that right? I don't know. Hey, if anyone's in the chat, say hi. Okay. And then what was I going to say here? I got distracted by that. Okay. Yeah. So you're out in the field, you're assessing what's going on, and you don't really want to move things around too much. And it's helpful if you're a pilot or something, just to take a whole bunch of pictures and things like that. And there we go. Rave Shaman's popping in. Good, thanks. I thought I'm losing my mind here. Oh, and Mona Moore's here too. Great, thanks. It's kind of weird. I guess it's a quiet Wednesday. Yeah, so you're in there, you're checking everything out, and you might have to secure the area. Make sure things don't get moved, because if you're moving this wing or that thing, you might not be able to figure out later how did this occurrence happen. And so, but you should always move whatever you have to move to I think it's number one is like to get people out of the plane if they have to, or if the fire department's there with jaws of life, yeah, rip it open. You got to get the people away from the accident first. And anything to if you got to put out fire or something like that, yeah, dump it full of foam there. Rescue fire guys. But then in the end, you're gonna go. They're gonna do their little field assessment. They're checking everything out, and they're interviewing people. They're gathering, gathering information. So that's what information can we get, and that's where they might find out. They might want photocopies of the pilot's license, or if it's a company, what were the weight and balance reports for the airplane, like all the documentation, everything, and they kind of collect all that stuff. Okay, and then what they do is they get all the information they possibly can. Might take a couple days or something, or more if it's kind of complex, and then they take it back to the office. They do an examination. So they kind of act like detectives, and they do a little examination, and they kind of get to the bottom of like, okay, what happened here? So yeah, and all the whole time, everyone, and all that time, everyone's talking about it on YouTube because they're all being armchair quarterback experts, right? I don't do that. If I am going to speculate, I do get an actual armchair here, but I'm not speculating today on anything in particular. And yeah, so they're just kind of, all these agencies, they'll check things out, they'll talk to, they might have to, during that examination of all the evidence that they have, they might have to make more phone calls. I've gotten those phone calls before for this and that, or even stuff that wasn't even involved with me. It's like, did you ever hear about these guys doing this? No. Okay. But it's the examiners are very good, or the people that are looking into the investigation, I guess the investigators, they're usually I like, because I was thinking about applying for a job like that. Usually they want you to be some sort of an engineer, mechanical engineer, aerospace engineer, something like that. So you can know. And I'm like, I'm a machinist, man. I know all about metal, but oh well. Didn't go to school for 4 years. Not for that, anyways. And then okay, what are we gonna do here? Yeah, so they might even do during that examination, you might have seen it on TV or something, where they can have kind of like a skeleton of an airplane, and they kind of piece it all together, what bits they could find, and almost like rebuild the airplane. You've seen that for something, if there's a lot of a lot of fatalities or something like that. Yeah, they'll get pretty serious about that. If you just get a little runway rash, they don't care about that. Not too much. And so they're going to be checking all the, and that can take a whole long time too. But eventually they're going to come together and they're going to make a report. Okay, so they're going to get all their and they're going to make some sort of a report, and they like, okay, guys, according to this, that we investigated, okay, the weather was like this, the pilot's training was like this, the plane's weight and balance was, they were operating legally, they were way too heavy, they had this they all the anything that could possibly affect it, they went down and they're checking for it. And the whole time that they're doing this, ideally it's not to lay any type of blame either, or they're not out to fine you. They're out to everyone involved in aviation, even like a lot of people hate the regulators, but really the regulators that I've talked to, they're not really all power trippy and stuff. They just want like best, they want everyone to be safe, because these guys and gals, they're pilots too, so they want the whole system to work, and this is all part of the system. And so once they get the report done, that's not quite over yet. So they say, all right, now let's get that report reviewed. And and then they also, through this whole process, now they got the report, they might say, okay, all right, we have a preliminary report going out. They might tell a few people, like the people that were involved with the occurrence, they'll give them a call and say, hey, okay, we're just kind of wrapping up our investigation here. Anything else you'd like to add? I've gotten calls like that too. And it's like, no. I already gave you everything, dude. And so like, okay. And then, but you can expect, if your company has some sort of interaction with these people, yeah, you could get called again. Or even, like I said, about even someone else that didn't have anything to do with me, but there might have been a rumor that person flew here once before, and that and this and that, and they get pretty detailed on some of the stuff. And so yeah, so they're going to do that, and then the report is okay. They're doing all the report, yeah, okay, and then they get all their final comments and everything, and then so there's all your investigators, they say, okay, let's put a nice little bow on this. Now let's send this up the chain to maybe more like a board or a management situation, where maybe those people are very senior investigators, and they might be able to find something that the other investigators missed, and then they could send it back and say, hey, take a look at this again. Or they could just rubber stamp it and go for lunch. And then there we go. And then after that, then finally, After, depending on what the severity of the accident or the occurrence, then finally they will do like a press release or something like that. Release. Okay, then they do the kind of then the official press release goes out. So any of the stuff that you see in the media right now about like, oh, this there was a crash here, there was that there, everything is total speculation until the final report is out. And it's really hard, you just want to speculate, but you really got to hold your tongue. And at least I do. Lots of other people just start blabbing about stuff on the YouTubes, and they get the clicks. But oh well, hopefully someone will click on this from a catchy title. But yeah, you got to wait, and it's usually a year to a couple years before that stuff comes out. And oh, hey, Wrench, and yeah, so and depending on where you are, like this is also a pretty. It's kind of like from what I looked on the internet from the different countries and different agencies. It's a pretty open system that they do it. It doesn't go like, okay, our secret people are going over here. You're not going to know what's going on, and then like 2 years later they come up and yank your license. It doesn't happen that way. There's a lot of reporting, kind of back and forth until like the official media release at the end. So anyone that's involved that has to make a little comment or can make things safer, yeah, they can do that. The one thing that I might say is that if during the investigation process they find something that could be really catastrophic, like wow, we found this and that's definitely it, so okay, then they can go to the manufacturer of the airplane and say, like, look, you have this problem here and we ran into this before, you got this problem here again. And then they can ground airplanes that way. Or you got to look for corrosion here, otherwise there's going to be a wing falling off, stuff like that. And then that's called an airworthiness directive, and that can happen anytime that like we go, whoa, this is a big one. And that has happened in the past where they're just like, okay, let's look at this, replace them bolts, they're no good. Or the bolts from this batch might have been no good, because everything in aviation, it's all tracked. And so if like I know when I was working as a machinist making aircraft parts, I put my little stamp on every little process that came by. Like I'd make, say, I don't know, something for like an oil pump gear, and I just cut the blank on a lathe or something. Well, okay, boom, I cut it on the lathe. My name's on there saying that it measured this much. And if it comes back that everything's undersized, they can come back to me and say, well, Graham made this batch, he made it all undersized. And none of the hundreds of inspectors caught it. So the root cause is Graham not knowing what he's doing. But I've never had that happen. Yeah. So anyways, we'll go over the investigation process here. Just a little wrap up. Okay, what do we got here? Number one, you got your occurrence. Something happens. You give the agency, whatever your country is, the NTSB, the TSB, you give them a call. They might say, nah, it's no big deal. Just anyone hurt? No. Plane okay? Yep. Okay. Thanks for the call. And they document it and it's done. Anything else happens, then they get into it a bit more. And then they do a little field assessment of some description. Send out one or two or three or a team of people. A whole lot of the more pictures you can take right after some sort of occurrence, the better. It could really help out flight safety in the long run if you just start or even taking video of like, whoop, there's a flat tire or anything like that. It could be helpful. You might save someone else's life. Okay, then they do the examination. That's like they're checking out all the paperwork, dotting their I's, crossing their T's, and they're playing detective back at the office. And they make up a little report. They send that up the chain to people that are more senior than them. They stamp the report. Yep, you're good. And then they release it to the public as a final report. Usually takes anywhere from 12 months to 2 years, from what I've read on the internet and what I've seen. And it can take even longer than that. And so I don't know. I haven't been involved a whole lot in that kind of stuff, but I've got, it's aviation. It's just like driving your car. Accidents are going to happen. Nothing really too bad in my experience, and nothing for me personally. So that's even better. So yeah, so there you go. That's what happens after an aircraft accident, and in general. And I'm not, yeah, no armchair quarterbacking today. Sorry, but I got you to click. Haha. And yeah, so that's about it. We'll see if there's any questions here or anything. Uh, I got freaked out at the beginning because no one was talking in the chat. But if you ever do pop into the Super Pilotish channel, feel free to just say hi, and that's I appreciate it. What else we got here? Oh, interesting. Good old Wrench is here making great statements and or questions as usual. Okay, reporters always get it wrong. My brother is a reporter. He phones me to review stories in advance sometimes. Well, Wrench, you're a pilot. You're more of an expert than the reporters. Yeah, reporters, and that's another thing where you got to wait for the official release. What if you're getting information from regular media? They're not pilots. They to them every where's my KD-12X? Yeah. So to reporters, this airplane here is a Cessna. Every airplane's a Cessna. If it's not a big jet, it's a Cessna. If it's a big jet, it's a 747 or something. But yeah, they don't. Those reporters are so busy. They just need to whip the content out. They can't research anything, and that's their job. I would hate to have that job. They're so busy, and people slam them all the time. But they're oh well, that's the media for you. And Nefarious Johnson popped in here. Don't worry, no problem being late. Okay, what else we got here? I hear you, Wrench. Whoops, wrong one here. It's a bummer that little plane crashes are always on the news. Little car crashes aren't. Yeah, yeah. It goes back to that. If it gets the clicks, like the all these. I was looking at a YouTube channel who shall not be named, but I mean, I'm not. I saw this one channel. I'm like, wow, that's got a lot of views. I'm just looking at it. It's like that's not very old, and it's just like plane crash, plane crash, plane crash, and it's like, I mean, yeah, like good old Mentor Pilot. I like his shows and stuff like that. And he does the crashes and he gets the clicks. But I mean, I like the way. But it's all these pilots. They want the clicks, so you got to do the crashes. It's just the way it is. And the whole idea of it is to see. Yeah, the whole idea of it in the pilot's mind is depending on who they are. They do want to get the clicks on YouTube. And then I would imagine I'd like to get clicks. But then they say, okay, we're spreading knowledge for aviation safety. Yep, that's kind of what I try to do that a little bit. But I also I pull I'll sacrifice some clicks for a little less sensationalism. Yeah, we'll put it that way. Got to keep it real, man. So here we go. Oh, this is interesting. Cops get mad if you take car crash photos, but I've emailed the photos to lawyers on request once. Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm sure every jurisdiction's got their own little rules and stuff like that. And okay. Yep, so that's about it for today. Yeah, today's Wednesday. And what am I? Nice day out there today, so I think I got to do something this afternoon before it gets all rainy and cold and stuff. But yeah, okay, that's about it. And cool. Yeah, so today's I'll just wrap it up. Today is Wednesday, so I'll be back here Friday because I do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon Eastern, and we'll just kind of shut her down. And thank you. Thank you for watching. All right, bye.